108 academic economists versus Super Milei. Before Milei was elected president in December of 2025, 108 academic economists put out a letter suggesting that Milei's policies would cause untold harm and disaster. This reminds me of another letter put out by a group of social scientists, that is, psychologists, who argued that Barry Goldwater was mentally unstable and not fit to be president. This just proves that many so-called social scientists are anything but scientific. They're pure politics. Unfortunately, we've seen in recent years that even so-called hard sciences, such as medicine, have proven to not be immune to politics. As in the case of the COVID letter, which was published in The Lancet, which has disgraced itself multiple times now. The COVID letter was written by so-called scientists who said you were racist if you pointed out that COVID started in a lab in China. This letter against Milei is clear election interference and was probably orchestrated by the CIA, WF, or the USAID. One of the ringleaders of this letter against Milei was Thomas Piketty, a French economist who became famous by supposedly pointing out that under capitalism, the rich get richer and everyone else gets poorer. His fame was clearly a well-orchestrated propaganda campaign pushed by socialists around the world. Piketty was one of the top 3 signatures on this letter. And since the signatures were not in alphabetical order, I'll bet these top 3 were the ringleaders of getting this stupid letter put out. All of them are progressive activists. They are not scientists, and this is a typical smear campaign put out by scumbag socialists.
But why do you call them shit?
Because they are shit.
But let's look at the letter. I'll start with the concluding paragraph, where they summarize all their points. It states, quote, "In short, Javier Milei's dollarization and fiscal austerity proposals overlook the complexities of modern economics, ignore lessons from historical crises, and open the door for extenuating already severe inequalities. As Argentina navigates the complex economic landscape, it is crucial to approach policymaking with balanced, empirical grounded strategies that are not only appealing in the short run, but also sustainable and equitable and enabling in the long run." End quote. First of all, Javier Milei never had a dollarization program. He never talked about dollarization. This was the way that the press described his policies. It was not the way he described his policies. And it's incorrect, which shows that these professors didn't even do their research. It was a clear smear campaign. What Javier Milei did propose and did do was create currency competition. He did this almost immediately upon taking office. He allowed private citizens to choose whatever currency they wanted to. For instance, they could contract in dollars. They could use pesos. They could use Bitcoin. They could contract in Ethereum. They could contract in euros. They were not limited by the law to any particular currency. They also complained about Milei's fiscal austerity measures. Fiscal austerity is just another way of saying living within your budget. As Milei points out, deficits almost always lead to money printing, which leads to inflation, which is the most punishing on the most vulnerable people in the country. So these professors are not really interested in creating equitable strategies. They're clearly, like all socialists, interested in creating a neo-feudalistic society. Milei delivered on his fiscal austerity promises. He cut the budget 30% in the very first month. He balanced the budget in the second month, and inflation has dropped to almost zero. The letter also makes the absurd claim that Milei's policies are not empirically grounded. What's not empirically grounded are socialist progressive policies. So-called progressives are socialist. They're just trying to hide that fact. And Milei's policies are based on well-researched, multi-decade studies, which show that freer countries are much richer than repressed countries. Milei repeatedly points to the economic freedom surveys, which show that those countries that are freer are 12 times richer than those that are repressed, have 25 times less poverty in the standard format, and 50 times less in the extreme format. Meaning that if these socialists gave a damn about the poor, they'd be pushing for economic freedom. Instead, they push for policies that create inequalities and accentuate the wealth gap. These include the Marxist ideas of a central bank and a graduated income tax, and social justice, which means unequal treatment before the law. You can tell all these so-called academic professional economists are frauds because they didn't put out a letter complaining about how Massey, who was the economics minister before Milei won the election in 2023, had run up the fiscal deficit to 15 points of GDP, nor did they complain that he was leaving them on the verge of hyperinflation, or that the country risk for Argentinian government bonds was at 3,000 points, or that there was a gap of almost 200% between the official exchange rate and the black market rate. These frauds didn't give a damn about that. They were too busy spreading their envy, resentment, and hatred to actually study economics. For instance, they don't talk about the Cantillon effect, which is the result of monetary emission and results in the political class and the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, which they don't care about, because these parasites profit from the Cantillon effect. But the policies they are pushing, which include monetary printing and increasing the debt, increases income inequality. They also push progressive, aggressive taxes. Progressivism is just a code word for socialism. It is not progressive at all, it's regressive. Progressive, aggressive taxes have been tried since the time of Caesar and before, and always resulted in the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. So these people clearly aren't interested in empirical data at all. Finally, these socialist scum also point to the idea that the free market is somehow resulting in inequitable and unjust results. Milei has the perfect response to this nonsense. He points out that the market is a process of social cooperation where individuals voluntarily exchange property rights. In fact, if you understood that, the whole part of economic literature would fall away because there could not be market failures. It just shows that these people know nothing about economics. And the proof is in the pudding. After a year of Milei's presidency, the inflation rate went down from potentially hitting 1,000 to less than 15% and continues to fall, and the poverty rate fell by over 20%. He eliminated the poverty managers, resulting in the benefits to the truly poor having doubled since Milei took office. While the economy did slow down in the first half of the first year of his presidency, it had a positive growth rate overall. Part of the so-called downturn in the first half of the year happened because he cut the government budget, which is a quirk in how the GDP is calculated. And the forecast for 2025 by even the IMF is for over 5% growth this year. The country risk has fallen for Argentinian government bonds to now less than 1,000 points. The results are overwhelming. Super Milei was right, and these frauds who call themselves economists should all be fired. Imagine if 108 civil engineering professors got together and wrote a letter saying that a bridge would fail. And in fact, that bridge turns out to be stronger than even expected. These civil engineering professors would all be fired, which is exactly what should happen to these 108 so-called economists. Long live freedom, damn it.